Well, today I'm going to make some sterling silver picture frames for the dollhouse. And it's quite an interesting technique, and I think you'll be quite impressed with this stuff. It is so much fun to play with. I really had a great time. Well, today was kind of a two-part effort. My friend Pat had all these little dollhouse frames, and she made the molds out of a two-part mold product that she bought at Michael's craft store. And I supplied the precious metal clay. Here's the mold material that she used. So I wasn't there when she made the molds, but she makes them all the time. She uses them for Fimo as well as plaster of Paris, and she makes tons of stuff with these little molds. So she created all of these molds, and I brought the precious metal clay. So this is silver clay. There's 50 grams of silver in this little bag. The cost was 125 Canadian, but 50 grams is a fair amount of sterling silver. So we got quite a few items out of this, and not just the stuff that I made today. I've actually made several items out of this stuff. So first of all, we used olive oil to grease the bowls, and then the clay, which is like the same texture kind of as Fimo, we just filled the molds with the precious metal clay. And the secret is you must leave it overnight, so it has to harden for at least 24 hours. Now, unlike taking Fimo out of the mold, you have to fork your molds. And by that I mean you actually have to take an X-Acto knife and you have to cut little slits into all of the pressure areas of the mold so that when you take the clay out, it doesn't crack, because it is very brittle and fragile. So you have to be very careful when you take it out. So you can see here, I just took out the first piece. And there's our first little picture frame. So when that's fired, it will be sterling silver. And I'll show you how I fork the mold. So you basically take a knife and you cut little relief slits in all of the corners and the pressure points so that when you flex the mold, you're not going to actually break the piece of clay when you pop it. So it's not so important if you're doing plaster of Paris. That's not a big deal. But this stuff is expensive, so you want it to turn out as good as you possibly can. So that's why I'm doing this to the mold. So it takes a little bit more effort, but it's well worth it. So when you open that mold up, the little guy should just pop right out. I'm even actually doing the inside of the mold here. You can see what I'm doing here. Just kind of giving it a little bit of relief, so hopefully it'll pull away. And once again, I put a little bit of olive oil inside before we put the actual clay in to make it a little bit easier for it to release. So I'm just pulling it and just trying my very best not to crack it. They're hard to do. So with the really fine ones, they weren't as easy. So you'll see here in a minute. So you just kind of got to take your time. You don't want to force it out. You want it to come out on its own. So you just have to kind of go around and do it at each angle until it releases nice and easy. There you go. So there it is. So you can see that I actually am missing part of the frame, but I'm not worried about that because I can clean that up and it'll look just fine. Now here's one of the very thin frames that we tried to do, and look, before I was even able to even gently release it, it's already cracked on me. But that's okay because you can actually rehydrate this clay. So I can actually add some distilled water to it and rehydrate it and turn it back into clay. As long as you don't fire it, it can be turned back into clay. So much the same as cleaning ceramics. Just taking a little knife here, and I'm taking off all of the excess lines off of it. It's much easier to do that when it's in clay format than when it's in sterling silver, because then of course you have to file it. So the instructions on this precious metal clay is cooking it for 3 minutes. So when you first put the torch to it, within the first 10 seconds, a big burst of flames happens, and that's just kind of the clay burning off. And then you've got to keep continuous movement on it and heat for a full 3 minutes. Although every silver clay product is not the same. Some of them have different cooking times. So you can see I've got my torch, and I'm just keeping it in a continuous motion. Now, if the torch is too close to the clay product, you will see that it'll start looking like it's silver, and that's called scaling. You don't want that to happen, because if it turns too liquidy, it will just melt into a big puddle. So you can see there in the bottom left where it's starting to turn silver a little bit. So I have to back the torch off just slightly. So, and once again, like, I can't stress enough how important it is to keep this torch in movement. So, and we've got the timer set on the stove for 3 minutes. So when 3 minutes is up, then I'm going to quench it into some warm water that has some pickling solution. Pickling solution can be purchased at any goldsmith supply store, or you can also buy jewelry pickling solution online as well. So you can see I'm pretty much finished cooking this one. So keeping it that nice rosy red color the entire time. You don't want it to cool off during this process, but you don't want it to get too hot either. So it's kind of a trial and error thing. I mean, if you melt it, you'd know. So here I'm cleaning another piece, and just kind of cleaning up the edges so that I don't have to do it once it's cast. And there you go. So this is a much cheaper alternative to doing lost wax casting. Lost wax casting is extremely expensive, the equipment. Although they may have classes available in the city where you live, here it's very, very expensive to buy the equipment. So, I mean, you're looking at a minimum of $5,000 to have casting equipment. So this is kind of a nice alternative. So, I mean, it's always lovely to have a piece of sterling in your dollhouse, and it's even nicer if you made it yourself. So me and Pat both agreed that this was our absolute favorite frame. It's just the tiniest little thing, and they're so cute. So we each made one, and I think they'll look perfect either on the top of a dresser or sitting on a little mantelpiece with like a little portrait in it. And I just think this is my absolute favorite piece. I was tickled with it. So when she brought out the frame, I went, ooh, my favorite. So I'm just once again showing you how we went ahead and torched them up, and it doesn't matter what size of piece you're doing, it's still going to take a full 3 minutes if you're keeping it rosy red the entire time. So this is a little butane torch, which are extremely affordable. They do sell them at craft stores, but they also sell them at all hardware stores. I will say that these torches are fairly inexpensive, but you kind of get what you pay for, because halfway through this project my torch just quit, and luckily Pat's husband Trevor had an extra torch that we could use. So see here where the flame happens, that's within the first 10 seconds, and I'm firing up another piece. So we had such a fun time doing this. It's a good thing I'm voiceover dubbing it, because I was swearing. I had such a tough time with that torch. Oh my goodness. So now I'm using a product called Rouge, and I've got a little polishing wheel here, and I'm just polishing the pieces after they've been in the pickling solution, just to give them some sheen and make them all nice and shiny and make them look like they're sterling silver. So can you believe that that clay made these items? Isn't that so cool? So the little plate here, I actually used Pat's mold that she normally uses to make paper plates. So it is far from being perfect, but I actually kind of really like this. I mean, originally I was going to file it all down and just make it into a smaller plate, but I like the rustic look of it. And there's my absolute favorite. Isn't that so precious? Just so cute. And then this one here is Pat's. And the reason why I know it's Pat's is because it says Pat, P-A-T, on the back. So cute. So we had such a great time today. It was just really a lot of fun. So there you go. There's the one that was really kind of deformed. And so I just filed it down and made it look like a nice shape. And then we each got one of these as well. So, and those are thick. Those are actually quite a big chunk of silver, those two frames. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with the outcome, and we had a great time and a great visit. So it's always nice to do crafts with your friends, that's for sure. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was so much fun. Oh, here's the polishing wheel. So if you look at this, that's what it started off as. So we wore one completely out today. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing, as it does help my channel grow. And please hit the notification bell. It'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Well, thanks again for joining me today. I hope some of you will try your hand at precious metal clay. It was so much fun. And once again, have the best day ever, guys.